Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Western Wing Work Session. Tonight, we have our board agenda review for the Board of Education. And following that, we will move into our overview of our health and safety plan and any questions by the board to follow. After we do the presentation, throughout the duration of the presentation, there is an email account that you can email questions to. At this point, we are collecting those questions because this is in draft form. We will be having parent sessions Monday and Tuesday of next week to address concerns with them, as well as we're looking to speak with teachers over the course of the next several days as well to inform them of more details of the plan, as well as to answer some more specific questions. So this evening, again, is an overview of our plan. It will be posted on the district website for the next week. And then the official vote to approve the plan will be on August 5th. So if nobody has any questions regarding that process, we'll begin with the board agenda. Everybody should have one in front of them. So after our roll call, we have our approval of minutes, number 6. On the page, we have our treasurer's report, number 7. Approval of bills, number 8. We will have a section for recognition of public. Again, due to the governor restrictions of no more than 25 individuals in a given space, the public portion of the meeting next week will also be virtual. So again, we'll have a similar format in terms of filing questions and comments. Moving forward, number 10, we're recommending that as a result of our current status and where we stand from a COVID standpoint, that we're recommending, number 1, that our in-service days be moved to September 2nd and Thursday, September 3rd, and that the first day of school be moved to Tuesday, September 8th. We still have a lot of planning, and as you'll see in our presentation moving forward, we're awaiting some more supplies. And again, we're working in our subcommittees to more finely tune our building-specific procedures, as well as our developing our curriculum for students that when we have a potential for a virtual format. The letter C is a recommendation for a noon dismissal teacher Act 80 day, which was an Act 80 day. Noon dismissal, Act 80 day for Columbus Day, Monday, October 12th. It will now be an Act 80 day upon approval. And then letter D would be Martin Luther King Day, January 18th, moving from an in-service day to no school on that Monday.
Matt, can I just ask one question? The new dismissal, the teacher Act day for Columbus Day, what was in place of that before on the calendar? I don't have that in front of me.
Columbus Day prior to was a day off.
Okay, and are we changing that because?
Well, we figure with the start of the school year being pushed forward or pushed back to September 8th, that would give us an opportunity to regroup with the staff rather than having that day off and debrief, put in any other resources that we may need at that point, depending on where we're at in terms of status in school, out of school, whatever it may be at that time.
And then Martin Luther King, we did not have off.
We did not.
Correct. So did we replace that with another day? Do you know what I mean? Like, what day did we have off, or we're just putting Martin Luther King Day?
We're just taking that out. Basically, it keeps this calendar timeline similar because one was a day off, one wasn't. We just flipped which one was a day off, which one wasn't.
So we originally didn't have that off, correct? Martin Luther King.
This year, because of prior years with snow days and everything, we made it an in-service day, Act 80, noon dismissal.
So my question is, at this point in time, I know everybody wants to do it because of what's happening in the world. Can we change that back if we need to, heading back? And
We
my
can
question
change
is
it.
because
Yes, we can change
it's
it.
so up in the air with in, out.
We-
And I know the climate.
We can change it back. At this point, I would not recommend it just because of, we're still looking into the possibility of, well, as you'll see on another agenda item, we're hoping to pass a resolution that would allow us to utilize virtual instruction, a hybrid approach, or at school to qualify for 180 days of instruction or to meet our hourly requirement of 990. So if that's the case, I'm waiting for clarification on whether or not we need flexible instructional days, and we could just utilize our programming as it currently, well, not currently stands, will be at that point of the school year. So we have that flexibility if there's a snow day potentially to say we're virtual. Okay, number 11 are the Act 80 days for the entire school year. This is just a revision from what we currently have. Again, letter A is September 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th. The thought behind that is making those first 4 days of school dismissals so that we can get the kids in, allow them to learn the new procedures, the safety measures we've put in place, get the students acclimated with transportation, all of those things that we are currently working on. It's going to be new for everybody. So it also gives the teachers an opportunity to work with kids to see how effective it is, what we put in place. And then when the students are dismissed, the teachers will have in-service time to debrief, review what we've done, and we could also provide other professional development as needed. So that's why we incorporated those first 4 days as noon dismissals. Letter B is October 12th. Again, that would be Columbus Day changing from a day off to an in-service day, November 11th, which is, that is Veterans Day, I believe, correct? That falls on the day, which is typically we have the assembly not on Veterans Day because of their obligations in other places. So we still will have our assembly pending, we're able to. February 12th and then March 12th would be, those were already scheduled in our prior calendar. Number 12 is our resolution for our flexibility to meet the minimum instructional time requirements in the event of an emergency. So due to the fact that the WHO declared COVID a global pandemic and an emergency, this would give us the authority to work within those parameters. Number 13 is an employee quarantine resolution. This resolution basically puts on notice staff members that if they travel outside of Pennsylvania to one of the designated states that would require them to quarantine for 14 days, that they have ample notice and that we can require them to go home and if they have the capabilities to work from home at that time, we can allow that, but that would be on a case-by-case basis. So that's just giving them prior notice that that is the situation.
How long that's up to the school year, or that's going to be as determined by the cases or the hospitalizations, or that's each state?
That would be determined based upon CDC guidelines, WHO, PDE recommendations. We're working with the Family First Act currently to determine what types of leave are appropriate, to what extent they're appropriate, if an employee is able to work from home, what accommodations can we reasonably provide for them.
Do they come back, are they required to take a COVID test? That's gonna clear them for quarantine, or is that something else?
I'm sorry?
I don't even quite, they come back from quarantine, say it's state like that, whatever.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Mike, if you don't mind unmuting, just,
You hear me? You hear me?
We can hear you, but they can't.
I'm not sure you're. I'll come up and.
Well, I guess the question is, will they be required to take a COVID test? If they are demonstrating symptoms,
similar to if we have a student, and again, this is all in the plan, that
they would be sent home and then either have a doctor's note or a negative COVID test upon return.
Okay, I'm just saying that if they come back from the stage, they take a COVID test, either for antibodies or the nasal swab, and they come back 2 days later, they're clear of COVID. Could they come back to work?
No, they're still required to quarantine for 14 days, or they cannot return to work for 14 days.
Oh,
correct, because the symptoms may not present themselves until 4 or 5, 6 days later.
Matt,
Just say there's a position where they cannot work from home, where there's no uniform or whatever, right? So how do they use those days? Is it sick days, vacation? Like, then what happens?
Well, again, we're within the Families First Act. An individual that may not work from home will be required to take a leave of FMLA. Employees do get 10 COVID days, which essentially are days that we would provide them to quarantine for that 14-day period. And if they require longer periods of time, there is an FMLA that up to a certain point, I believe it's $10,000, there is a pay of up to 2/3 of their salary over that duration.
Are we
just gonna
require the teachers to quarantine if they go out of
Any staff member, we've already had to do it.
what?
Any staff member.
But what about students?
Students as well, yes.
Okay.
Okay. Moving along to number 14, that is the approval of the actual plan. Again, that plan will be on our website starting tomorrow for public view as a draft. This is a draft. Again, this is subject to change based upon any recommendation that we get or guidance that changes as a result, or if we deem appropriate according to what we find through the course of our planning over the next several weeks. So the plan is subject to change, will be reviewed and revised as needed. Number 15 is an authorization for the board to allow us to deposit our general fund into Honesdale National Bank. And along with that goes the interest and principal for all bond payments that come during the period of July 1st through June 30th of next year. So we've been working with Honesdale Bank for years, correct, Rose? Number 16 are the annual service contracts that we renew, elevator maintenance, fire alarms, security alarms, etc. Those types of contracts. So I believe we did contract with the NRG as well for HVAC, ventilation, etc. 17 is a real estate tax rebate. There was an appeal made in front of the appeal board, I guess. So this property has a rebate amount of $612 in Sterling Township. And it is a rebate due to land appraisal correction. We did have that reviewed by Attorney Mayer. Number 18 is a board policy. Through our audit, while it wasn't necessarily a finding by any means, they asked us to change the wording of our policy from
how we charge our meals. Rose, could be a little bit more specific as to, I remember Maria Liptak describing the verbiage, the student meal charging.
Yes, it was very specific about the dollar amounts, and
Thank
through the state audit, they felt that we needed to be a little less specific about it.
Thank you. Yes, they thought it,
The live video, the comment they were getting is they're not hearing, other than you. So if somebody does ask a question, until they get the audio corrected, can you just repeat the question? I think that would help.
yes, thank you. So basically, they felt the language could be somewhat discriminatory the way it was worded, so we tweaked it so that it's not as specific. So that is the updated policy. Number 19, we have two memorandum of understanding. The first one is for our full-time elementary special education position. We're attempting to implement an elementary special education program. We do not have the staff currently to house that. So this would allow us the flexibility at the end of the year if that program does, or if the population of students does not dictate the need for the position, and we are able to collapse the position at that time. If it does, then we would make that a full-time employee. Number 18, this is just an updated MOU for the weight room position, the after-school professional development MOU that we put in place last year so that we can contract with an external agency rather than have staff that our own staff work in the weight room. Rather, we decided to go with a certified group so that we can more appropriately have our students trained. Number 20 are handbook revisions and updates as listed: teacher handbooks, student handbooks, coaches, advisors, paras, et cetera, et cetera. Uh, 21 is the school safety and security coordinator. I am taking the title of that again this year. We have, again, last month we had to do our safety and security update, the board report. We just making sure that we're providing all the necessary safety training and updating our policies and procedures as necessary. 22 are drivers and substitutes. 22 is the approval of driver and substitutes. 23 are contracts, and basically until we can get all the contracts solidified, we're currently working on those, but it does give me the authority to approve them on a temporary basis and to operate so that we can get our kids here before formal approval, pending all that necessary documentation, paperwork, et cetera. Number 24, the next several are annual updates that we have, that we've worked with over the past several years. 24 is an agreement with Head Start and Scranton-Lackawanna Human Development Agency. 25 is our agreement with New Story and their daily tuition rates of $255. There's a $350 or $500 per day, depending on the level of student need. 26 is our agreement with PA Treatment and Healing for any alternative placements that we need throughout the course of the school year. And the rates are there for regular ed and special ed students.
Dr. Barrett, are any of those rates different than what they have been in the past? You know, if any of them have changed up or down?
I do believe the rates for PATH went up slightly. I think they were in the mid 70s last year. Rose, do you have that off the top of your head? But they did increase slightly.
Thank you.
Number 27 is an agreement with Guidelight to provide
in-house counseling services, crisis counseling for our students at the middle and high school levels. 28 is an agreement for dual enrollment, and that is with Lackawanna College. I know we're still waiting on some other documentation to come in from Johnson College, but I believe with Lackawanna, Mr. Gorski, we have approximately 11 dual enrollment courses that students are able to take with Lackawanna, correct?
I think the Lackawanna key, I think the Johnson agreement that we're working on will be ready for September. I believe there's more, closer to 11 than Johnson.
Okay, thank you. So 8 with Johnson, approximately 11 with, I'm sorry, 8 with Lackawanna, approximately 11 with Johnson.
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 29 is our agreement for an interpreter and the hourly rates for those services, $40 an hour during the week, 45 Saturday, Sunday, and holidays. We
Do have the need to have interpreters at our professional development, our in-service days at the beginning of the year and periodically throughout the course of the year. 30 is, I'm sorry, this is an agreement with the Western Pennsylvania School for the Deaf, which was effective July 20 at the cost of $2,000 per student. That is over the course of this summer. So that was based upon student need. It's just an approval for that service. 31 is an agreement with Victims Intervention and Prevention. We utilize those services throughout the school year with our guidance department, as well as with our administration. And again, it's recommended through the Student Assistance Program. 32 is an agreement between Western Wayne and the Wayne County Office of Behavioral Health and Development, as well as early intervention. And again, that is to assist our Student Assistance Program in providing necessary services deemed appropriate. 33 is an agreement with St. Joseph Center for any students that would need to utilize their services and the rates thereof. 34 and 35, the purchase of bread and the purchase of milk. Those are the same companies that we've utilized over the past several years as well. It's just renewing the contracts with them to provide those services. 36 is an updated job description for our Assistant Director of Special Education who we've been working to update all of our job descriptions over the course of the last several years. This is the most recent one that we were able to adjust as necessary. 37 is the district substitute list. 37A is the district substitute list for approval. 37B, we do have 2 sabbatical requests, one for restoration of health and one for professional development. Those we did need to post those positions and look at long-term substitutes for those. Letter C, we have a custodial retirement effective December 30th. Letter D, we have appointments for long-term substitutes for the year. As you can see, due to the 2 sabbatical requests as well as for the long-term special ed position, we do have recommendations that we will discuss in executive session. (37E) is the temporary part-time art position at R.D. Wilson, and again, we'll review that in executive session. Letter F is a transfer. This is for one of the paraprofessional positions for that special ed classroom that we discussed at the elementary level. The individual
is currently in the cafeteria staff, and we're looking to do a transfer to the paraprofessional realm. Letter G is an appointment for the second paraprofessional. And then letter H is the appointment of a mentor for the part-time art position. 37I is an approval of the elementary student assistance program members as listed. And then letter J is an approval of volunteers for the 2021 school year, depending on necessary clearances, regulations, et cetera. We will be looking at a student intern for September through May with our social worker. And we have our correspondence, federal programming reports, other business, et cetera. So that is our agenda. Does anybody have any questions at this time regarding any items on the agenda? Okay. So moving forward, again, we're moving into the portion of the meeting where we will go over our continuity of ed, our health and safety plan for the start of the school year and our educational options that we will be providing for families at least for the start of the school year, potentially throughout the remainder of the school year. So let me get my screen up here with the PowerPoint so everybody can view it. Is everyone able to see that on their computers?
It's not on the live stream yet.
I don't see it. This is Bill, but I do have a paper copy.
Mr. Gershi, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I can hear you. Dr. Barrett's working on putting up the
I do have,
PowerPoint to the screen right now.
I do have a paper copy.
Okay. All right, but I think we have to put it up for everyone else to see, so he's working at it.
Okay, great.
Thanks.
How are you?
Doing well, how are you?
Good, good, thank you. There we go.
Mr. Gershi, you can see that now?
Yep, very clearly.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I apologize for the technical difficulties. Dr. LaRosa and I will go over the PowerPoint presentation, answer any questions our board may have. We will continue to collect email questions over the course of the remainder of the meeting. We will have the PowerPoint as well as our full plan available online for everyone to view. And then again, at the August 5th meeting would be the formal approval of the plan. Is audio still okay? Okay. Before we get into the plan itself, I just want to take a minute to thank Dr. Rosa for all of her hard work with this. I want to thank our administrative team, our association members, our nurses, Wayne County, Pike County Emergency Management, Wayne Memorial Hospital administrators, as well as several physicians, Department of Health, all of the individuals that assisted us with this plan in collaboration with Wayne Highlands, Wallenpaw PAC, and even Delaware Valley to a certain extent. We have collaborated on this plan so that we're as consistent as we can possibly be. The three districts came up with the concept that we'd like to do 80% of the plan as identical as possible so that the procedures we're doing can match each other's. We're in a consortium together, so we need to make sure that what we're doing is consistent across the three districts. However, we realize that each district is going to have their own unique situations and they're going to need to tweak the plan to meet their needs. Even within our district, this overarching plan is going to be more tightly refined to meet our own building needs throughout Western Wayne. So again, this is the overarching plan. This plan is fluid. We need to be able to manipulate the plan as deemed necessary. We need to adjust on a daily basis to whatever's changing around us in terms of both local and state and national situations. So again, I just wanted to thank everybody for their hard work. We're continuing to push forward. This was not an easy task, not an easy task. We've been racking our brains to put together the plan, to make it as effective as we can possibly make it. However, we are not health officials, which made it difficult at times, which is why we collaborated with Wayne Memorial Hospital. We provided them with copies of our plans. We reviewed it. We had a few meetings with them. They're putting together some materials for us so that we can have information both in the school, on our website, in the nurse's office. They're coming out with a video that the doctors are putting together with guidelines, recommendations for families to hear. So that will be coming out shortly as well. That's kind of the background of where we got to, and you'll see as we go through. And this does not want to change slides. There we go. So the health and safety planning, basically the goal is to get kids back in school as safely as possible. We want as many kids here. We want all of our kids here. We want to make sure that when they're here, they're safe. We want to make sure that our staff is safe. And we want to make sure that we can be as consistent as possible in what we're doing to make sure that that plan is being effectively implemented on a daily basis. Day-to-day procedures, protocols, et cetera, transportation, sanitation. We've been ironing out these details daily and changing daily as we're getting more and more guidance. So we do have 3 phases that we're working within. Originally, when the guidelines came out from the state, it was still under the guidance of green, yellow, and red phases. What does it look like within each phase? As I guess things have kind of veered away from the green, yellow, and red at the state level, we still are focused on those 3 tracks as we continue our planning. We said stick with it because we can maneuver between the 3 as we move forward. So again, this will give us a little bit about how the education will be delivered. Dr. Rose will be explaining those parameters and then some of the expectations that we have in place. So the timeline Starting June 22nd, our parent survey went out. Our first meeting with the pandemic committee was June 24th. We formed subgroups thereafter. We met with our nurses and safety and other safety committees within that to get their input, and they continue to be on the committee as well moving forward. June 9th, we had another large pandemic committee to regroup and had several administrative meetings along the way. And our most recent pandemic meeting was July 22nd, and we also have another one coming up on this Friday morning. So this slide gives you a little idea of who we met with and when we met with them. July 1st, we had our initial meeting with Wayne Memorial to just get a baseline of where we should start and what direction we should go. That was very productive. We came out of that meeting feeling like we're in a good place. We're doing good things, and this is realistic. Shortly thereafter, the governor came out and said, now you have to wear masks, and put in some new restrictions in terms of limiting people in congregations. So we've maneuvered throughout all of that and continue to move forward. But again, you can see the meeting dates with Wayne Highlands and with Wallenpaupack. Again, with meetings with Department of Health, Emergency Management. And at one point, Dr. LaRosa and I met with Wayne Highlands, Wallenpaupack, and went line by line, 37 pages of our plan in each category, red, yellow, and green, to make sure that we're as identical as possible. But we did, again, make sure that we're also meeting the unique needs of individual buildings as well as individual districts. There will be a video press release, as I just mentioned earlier, coming out from Wayne Memorial. Tonight is our draft presentation to the board, and we will be having a final survey for parents to go out to make what they call an education declaration to determine if they feel it's safe or appropriate to send their kids here, as well as will they be taking advantage of the options we have, as well as it's going to allow us to understand how many kids we potentially can have here from day one, and then how many students we're going to need for transportation purposes, whether or not we're in the red, yellow, or green, well, I should say red or green pathways. And again, you could still, I'm still coming through, okay. So if you take a look at the list of individuals and organizations that we've collaborated with along the way and will continue to do so, there you have it. So we did try to make this as well-rounded as possible, getting input from multiple stakeholders, trying to meet the needs of our students and our families, trying to meet the needs of our staff, working within the guidelines of CDC, WHO, PDE, you name it. It's been just a tremendous effort on everybody's behalf. And with that, I will turn it over to Dr. LaRosa.
Okay, so we're going to start with the data. So first and foremost, we just wanted to say on behalf of the admin team, thank you to the 700 households who completed the survey. It was a great deal of information that we did collect, and we were able to do a data analysis to basically hear where families are at this point. So what did the survey tell us? Well, the first thing that we heard a couple developing themes, but the first theme was that 62% of their families need the kids to go back to school in some type of capacity. So 62%, you will notice though that 26% were undecided, and basically families just wanted more information. So we did expect that. Also, another theme was families want their children to go back to school on assigned days. That was their top choice if we had to discuss a hybrid model. Also, there was some information about transportation, and 71% of the respondents did indicate that they would be in need of district transportation. Just some other things that we did notice too were things like scheduling. So families asked us when we were taking a look at scheduling to please group children in the household together. We do recognize that it was difficult for some families to try and manage kids at different levels and from different buildings. And also the idea of flexibility for families. And the other theme, the final theme in that area, talked about safety. Obviously, we want your kids to be safe. We want families to feel comfortable. And that's why I think you'll see that this presentation presents some options for families, okay? We're not locked into one learning path. The other thing that we took a look at when we did the data analysis was there were 3 open-ended questions. So really, we had the potential to take a look at 1,200 responses, 2,100 responses, and be able to read the comments that were put in there. And if anyone would like to take a look at them, board members, this is the data that we got back from families. And it was very telling. You know, things that we knew, but some things that we didn't know. And it was great to see it through the lens of parents or grandparents or individuals that were trying to work with their children from March through the end of the school year. So some of those themes that seemed to develop around education were that they were asking us to provide more live instruction. We understood that. They are asking for some more structure, that they felt like, you know, we were trying to put this together, but they would like to see us moving forward with a little bit more structure and consistency. And I think that we as the administrative team would agree. They also wanted the work to be meaningful and to count. So we have to have conversations about what attendance is going to look like, what grades are going to look like. And then finally, an increase in communication and scheduling as well. So again, thank you to the families that did provide that data. It was highly beneficial with the administrative team and then also for the committee members moving forward in developing this plan. So some of the challenges that we face, not only as a district, but also as a community are, you know, public education is under attack right now. You can't even turn the TV on and the cyber ads are there. And what we want to say to families are we have learning paths that are far better than the cyber options that exist out there. And we're going to talk a little bit more about those. But also we understand that families are passionate about education and there's some strong beliefs that are out there. Things like, is this pandemic real? Is it a hoax? Do we mask? Do we not mask? You know, we acknowledge that those beliefs are out there, and our goal is to meet every family where they are at and have an honest communication and conversation about what's going to work best for your family. So what are we going to do? Well, here's just a couple areas of things that we must do. We really need to get creative and think outside the box. This is something that I never thought I'd be challenged with to try to figure this out. There's not really information out there. You know, there's no textbook that we can just pick up and follow. So we're going to really need to get creative. And I think our staff has stepped up and met that challenge. They did an amazing job in March, being able to just jump right into Google Classrooms and adapt and you know, be resilient. Also, like I said, we need to meet each family where they're at. We're not judging your beliefs, but it is our responsibility to continue to educate your children. Also, it is our desire to continue to support our educators. You know, this is not something that they necessarily learned in their training as well. So being able to help them develop and become proficient in the Google platform. Also, provide support and services to our families remotely. And again, like I said, we do have a cyber program here. We are looking to expand that cyber program down to kindergarten, and we think that we can do it well. And then also the biggest challenge is to focus on solutions and not dwell on the problems. And as I was going through this, two things that just kept coming to mind: flexibility and communication. Things are constantly changing. And as Dr. Barrett said, we've walked out of many meetings where we spent the entire day there and we had a plan only to drive home and get an email that kind of rocked the boat and made us come back to the table. So flexibility and communication are going to be extremely important. And like I said, you're going to hear me talking a lot about this idea of learning paths, options for your family. And then also it's going to be up to the families to decide what works best for them and what they're comfortable with. So our goal is to meet families, to meet the needs of all of our families. So when Dr. Barrett talked about this green phase, what we mean by that is we are hoping that kids are going to be able to return to school 5 days a week for in-person instruction. Now, if you as a parent or guardian say, I'm not really comfortable with that, even though the school is going to provide that, what are my options? Well, one of the options could be that your child is going to remotely learn and attend live classes from home. Also, like I mentioned, we do have the cyber program that is kindergarten through 12th grade. So if that is a question or you have any concerns about that, I would urge all families to reach out to their building administrators. If it is a student that has special needs, reach out to instructional services. But like Dr. Barrett said, next week we're going to be offering some parent nights where it'll be specific to the elementary on Monday night, and then the secondary parent night will be offered on Tuesday. So those are some of the options. And let me just mention for the pre-K kiddos, so what we have decided to do was we'd like to offer 2 full days per week of in-person instruction. And then on that third day, it would be a half day of remote learning. Okay, so that is what our green would look like. When we talk about the yellow phase, this is more of the idea of the hybrid learning. So students would attend school every other day for in-person instruction. And again, this idea of household scheduling. So if there are multiple children in the home, we would look to have all those kids come to do in-person instruction together. On the days when students are not in school, they would be learning remotely using that district device, and they would be receiving live instruction. And then again, if that is not going to work for whatever reason, maybe there is a medical concern, maybe there's just a family concern where you don't even want to allow your child to come to school every other day, you would also then have that option. A learning path would be to continue to learn from home 5 days a week with that live instruction. And again, if both of those options don't work for you, there's also the district cyber program as well. And then finally, the red phase option. So again, this is where students would be learning remotely from home. Once again, we would be providing the child or the students with a device. And if you just feel like you do not want your child to be in live instruction, so when I'm saying live instruction, I mean our Google platform, you would also then have the option to be a part of our cyber program, which is a little bit different. So just to recap, there's a green, there's a yellow. So green is 5 days in person. The yellow is going to look more like a hybrid where it would be every other day. And then red would be the kids are at home every single day. Okay, so just some information about what we've been working on for in-person instruction. And again, this is just little snippets from our lengthy health and safety plan. And again, we will be talking a little bit more about this during the parent nights. But the subcommittees have been talking about cleaning and what that's going to look like with our ventilation and our HVAC, our HVAC systems, and our custodians. We've also talked a great deal about social distancing and in the classrooms, in the hallways, in the cafeteria, and what that's going to look like for our students. Transportation, again, when we put out the educational declaration survey, which will be coming out soon, we're going to ask families, if you are able, could you bring your child or your children to school? If not, let us know and we will go ahead and start making rosters. But what that would look like at this time is 2 students per seat, masked, unless they're from the same household, and then we could put 3 in a seat. Again, signage is going to be everywhere in our buildings, just as some reminders in those high traffic areas and also in the hall. So again, masks. I know this is a hot topic. And what I'm going to say about that is we as a district are not making that decision. We are following the directive that we are required to do so. If you are a parent or a guardian who, for whatever reason, does not feel that your child could wear a face covering, whether it's a mask, whether it's a shield, a bandana, a face covering, if you do not want your child to wear that, I would ask you to reach out to a building principal again and further discuss the learning paths that you feel comfortable with. Just keep in mind too that we will be incorporating mask breaks into our day. And we're going to fold this into our PBIS, certainly at the elementary, but then also at the secondary level as well. And then again, personal hygiene, you'll see hand sanitizer is everywhere, especially in those high traffic locations. And students will also be encouraged to wash their hands throughout the day as well. Materials. Whenever possible, students are not going to be sharing materials. And also the student areas will be cleaned in between usage. And then again, the monitoring students and staff for symptoms. So again, we're going to be working with our faculty and our staff to talk about what some of the symptoms look like and what the appropriate response to those symptoms would be. We're also asking all of our staff and students to go through a checklist prior to coming to work or to school. And certainly if a child is sick and demonstrating any of those symptoms, please do not allow them to go on a bus or a van. We ask that you keep them home. We do understand that that makes some families nervous about attendance. And at this point, we will monitor attendance. But we do recognize that we're going to have to exercise some flexibility. And again, I go back to flexibility and I go back to communication. Those are 2 very important things. So then again, just some general points. Our school and our community must unite in the common belief that safety is the most important thing. If there is an illness or if there is any concern, please, students and staff, stay home. We would rather that you err on the side of caution. I'm almost done. I'm almost done. And then COVID-19 information changes daily, and you heard Dr. Barrett say that. So again, we really need to be flexible. And we need to understand that as a school, we could potentially be moving in and out of the in-person to the hybrid to the red rather quickly. And we will do our best to communicate that information to families as quickly as possible. We did hear families. We did take that survey seriously. We will be putting out some additional surveys. There will be a survey for our families who have students with special needs, but there will also be the educational declaration survey as well. And like I said, I just wanted to throw it back in there again. Monday, August 3rd at 7 p.m., there will be an elementary parent night that will be held virtually. Nope. August 4th, Tuesday, will be a secondary parent night at 7 p.m. as well. And then again, just in closing, we really do want to work together. We understand that this is a very difficult situation. So that survey will be coming out. We will be asking families to complete that survey by August 12th. If after the parent nights and after the survey and additional information comes out from the building level, if you still have questions, please reach out to the building administrator or special education. Questions? Yes, sir.
Well, currently, if one has a fever, that's only one symptom of COVID. There could be several. So unless they're demonstrating several symptoms and we know that they've been exposed to COVID, then I would keep both home. But otherwise, if one is not demonstrating symptoms, then they can attend. Unless we have a tracing of information that we can prove that there's contact for an extended period of time with somebody who has COVID positive, then even if they're not demonstrating, that's when the 14-day would be implemented. Yes, with the video that comes out with from Wayne Memorial, there will be more of that information to come out to clarify what families can look for, what they can do, what resources they have available if they don't have insurance or they can't get to the hospital. Is there a local health facility that they can access to get a test?
Ken, with the every other day when we go yellow, is it going to be on the 6-day rotation or is it, which is so confusing? Is there a way we can keep it Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday, and do a Friday and teacher and service? Because I never know what day it is.
Well,
How does that work?
The students will be every other day, no matter what. The 6-day cycle will just be an internal schedule so that we know what schedules the students would be attending on that day, especially at the elementary level. And then, whatever courses at the high school level that would dictate what day they would be in. Still, again.
Is there an easier way to do that? Is it where a family can go Monday, Wednesday, and then that's it for the week, and then maybe Tuesday and Thursday virtual online, or something along that lines? Or is that the recommended?
When we talked to some of the families, but also daycare providers, that was a source of concern because we didn't know who was going to be with the kids that would be at home on that Friday or some of those days. So that was the ultimate decision. We decided to go every other day and just keep it consistent so that families would know Monday, Wednesday, Friday this week. Next week is Tuesday, Thursday.
And then again, in having to work with the consortium, making sure that we're consistent with our days, we've all agreed within the hybrid model, that would be the approach we take. To keep it every other day. If you're on a 6-day cycle, you keep it on that 6-day cycle. And again, we feel that would provide the students with the most amount of face-to-face or live instruction on a regular basis, rather than if we only did a couple days a week. Hello? Nope. Am I kicked out? Can you hear me now? Anyone else? You heard? Okay. So I apologize. But again, this was in collaboration with the other districts, and we're looking at maximized instructional time, maximized time that students can physically be here. That was the approach we decided on. Jeff and then Gary.
My question is, in the green phase, are the classrooms with the students in class going to remain in that class the entire day? And then I'm gonna add later to that, if they are, and there's an outbreak, a student gets that, what protocols are in place for that entire class, the teacher, in terms of quarantining and moving from that phase down?
Again, we would look at the contact tracing. We contact the Department of Health. We'd have the students monitored, follow all the guidelines that are set forth by them. And we have to have, X amount of students work from home on a given period of time. We still have that live component available to them when they're at home, so that they can still access the information that the teachers are providing. Now, again, if the teachers fall ill and we have to get a substitute in, then we do that. These are things that, when it comes to flexibility, we have to be on our toes and making sure that everybody is monitored, everybody is following our protocol procedures, and we need to make sure that. Now, going back to your first question about will they remain in the classrooms, primarily at the elementary level, yes, they'll be self-contained, but at the high school level, they're going to need to be flowing in and out of different classrooms. But again, we do have procedures in terms of hallway traffic, altered bell schedules, so that not everybody's leaving at the same time, providing extended time for hallway traffic, as well as sanitation procedures. Gary?
First question is regarding Dr. Wills' thing with public school.
Are we actively
Advertising our cyber school to make sure that if people are going to cyber school, they are coming to us?
Yes, we have been contacting families have been contacting us. If they had any questions, we're giving them all the materials that we currently have in terms of both our cyber program and course of action going.
What happened? Hello? Brian?
You know, we're not pretending to make the
Hello?
Paths as possible at every different level.
Okay, we just had like the internet blip for a minute. So let's just take a 5-minute break. And then just that laptop over there stopped. So I'll get everything back up and running.
You're back, Brian?
I will let everybody online.
We crashed the internet.
Apparently, there was a glitch.
Yeah, I missed the last couple minutes. That's okay. Okay.
I don't know.
I have this thing from university.
Hello? I keep losing the sound here. Since Brian took down the PowerPoint, comma, I no longer can hear the meeting, period.
Guys, we just had internet.
Brian? Brian? Hello?
Hi, Bill. Don't be talking right now because everybody can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Okay. There's
See, I can't hear them. Okay.
Hey, I just want to let you know that, everything went out, so it's.
Right.